Have you ever heard someone say, "I'm as busy as a bee"? Maybe you've even said it yourself during exam week, project deadlines, or when your to-do list just won't end. But have you ever stopped and wondered, why a bee? Why not busy as a dog or busy as a bird? Today, we're going to explore the origin and meaning of the phrase busy as a bee. And at the end, stay tuned because there will be 3 trivia questions to test how closely you were listening. So why do we say busy as a bee? The phrase busy as a bee is a simile. A simile compares 2 things using the words as or like. In this case, it compares a person's level of activity to that of a bee. Bees are famously hard-working insects. If you've ever watched them in a garden, you'll notice they are constantly flying from flower to flower, collecting nectar and pollen. They rarely seem to rest. This phrase has been around for centuries. One of the earliest known uses appears in the 14th century in the works of Geoffrey, Chaucer. Later, it also appeared in literature by William Shakespeare. When writers of that time used the phrase, they were referring to the common observation that bees are always working. Because these authors were so influential, many of the expressions they used became part of everyday English. But what exactly makes bees so busy? Let's take a closer look at the honeybee. The scientific name for the western honeybee is Apis mellifera. These bees live in highly organized colonies. Inside a colony, every bee has a role. There is a queen bee whose main job is to lay eggs. There are worker bees, which are all female, and they do most of the labor. Then there are drone bees, whose primary role is to mate with the queen. Worker bees are the reason we associate bees with busyness. They collect nectar, gather pollen, build honeycombs, protect the hive, feed larvae, and even clean the hive. A single worker bee may visit thousands of flowers in one day. To produce just 1 pound of honey, bees must collectively visit about 2 million flowers. Imagine flying back and forth that many times. That's serious dedication. The structure of a beehive also adds to the image of constant activity. Inside the hive, bees move in coordinated patterns. They communicate through something called the Waggle dance, which tells other bees where to find food. This dance is precise and informative. It communicates direction, distance, and quality of the food source. So when we say someone is busy as a bee, we are not just talking about random movement. We are talking about purposeful, organized, and productive activity. There's also a cultural reason why bees symbolize hard work. In many societies, bees have long been seen as models of cooperation and diligence. In ancient times, honey was valuable, not just as food, but also for medicine and religious rituals. because bees produced something so useful, they were admired and respected. Over time, the phrase became common in everyday speech. Today, it's used casually. A student preparing for finals, a parent managing household tasks, or an employee juggling multiple projects might all describe themselves as busy as a bee. It's a friendly, light-hearted way to say, I have a lot going on. So the next time you hear that buzzing sound in a garden, remember that it inspired a phrase that has lasted for hundreds of years. A tiny insect flying from flower to flower helped shape the way we describe our busiest day. All right, let's see how much you learned. Here are 3 trivia questions. Ready? Let's get started. Question 1. Why are bees especially associated with being busy? A. Because they make loud buzzing sounds. B. Because they live in organized colonies and constantly gather nectar and pollen. C. Because they are brightly colored. D. Because they are the largest insects in gardens. Correct answer. B. Because they live in organized colonies and constantly gather nectar and pollen. Bees are associated with being busy because of their organized, non-stop activity in gathering nectar and pollen. Worker bees perform multiple essential tasks inside and outside the hive. Their work directly supports the survival of the colony. Question 2. Which famous writer helped popularize the phrase in early English literature? A. Charles Dickens. B. William Shakespeare. C. Mark Twain. D. Jane Austen. Correct answer. B. William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare used the phrase in his works, helping to cement it in the English language. Although other writers later used similar expressions, Shakespeare's influence on English vocabulary and idioms was enormous. Last question. What is the name of the dance bees used to communicate food locations? A. Flutter dance. B. Nectar spin. C. Waggle dance. D. Hive hop. Correct answer. C. Waggle dance. The waggle dance is a fascinating form of communication used by honeybees. Through specific movements and angles, a bee can tell others the direction and distance to a food source relative to the sun. This behavior shows that bees are not just randomly active, they are strategically organized. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution.